So what you'll do is, over here on your package, you'll right-click, not finds, right-click, new, and it's JFrame form. So in JFrame form. New JFrame form. And you can name it, I'm going to name it GUI. Here we go. So this is our GUI. Okay. This is our GUI. Right now, there's nothing in it. As you can see, there's nothing there. And what I mean by GUI is this is what you will visually see. So I can extend the size of my GUI, and this literally extends the size. So when I run this, I right-click on my GUI file, run file, you'll see it pop up. This is the size of my GUI, right? So as I extend this right here, it extends the size of my GUI as well. So here we go. Here's our pretty much our standard GUI. And you notice you can expand it, full screen, you know, minimize it, exit. Once you hit exit, it stops your program. Right? So the first thing, let's create a menu bar. Right? Menu bar creates our file and edit. So if I run this again, you'll see I have file and edit. Right now, there's nothing in there. Right? I don't have anything in there. Okay. So with our menu bar, we have file, edit, like I said. And if we look over here to the left, this is our navigator of all of our components for our GUI. Right? Our GUI, the overall GUI is called a JFrame. Okay. So the whole thing that you see here is called a JFrame. Right? This whole thing is a JFrame. We have different Swing. If you look over here, Swing is a Java library that provides a lot of different components you can add to a JFrame. JFrame is the basis or the foundation. You add things to a JFrame. Okay. And if you notice, we have quite a few things we can add to our JFrame. We have panels, we have tab panes, split pane, scroll pane, all these different types of panes. We have the label, button, toggle button, checkbox, radio button. It's all dependent on how you want to customize your GUI. So let's do our file. Let's edit this menu right here. And I'm going to edit the menu, and I hope you all are doing this with me.
How did you edit the file edit again?
I clicked on menu bar right here, and I dragged and dropped it. So if I start that over again, I click on menu bar right here, drag and drop. And most of these are drag and drop. You can drag and drop things onto your GUI. So I'm basically going to copy Netbeans, okay? For Netbeans, if I click on File, we have New Project, New File, Open Project, Open Recent. So I'm just going to basically copy these different prompts into my program. Now, our program won't have any functionality because we haven't put the code in on the back end, but we'll get to that later. Right now, I'm just going to copy the file and edit of Netbeans. So the first two are New Project and New File. We have file, we have edit right now. So if we go over here to our components, we have these J menus. And the first one is our edit menu, right? To make this a little bit clearer, what I want to do is right-click, change variable name. This is going to be our new project menu. I'm sorry. File menu, right? Because it is our file menu. These two correspond over here. Same with this. I'm going to change variable name to our edit menu, just for clarity. So I know when I click on this, I'm talking about the file menu. When I click on this, I'm talking about the edit menu. Everybody with me so far? File.
Nah, how did I can't even pull up the like the GUI. How do I do that?
So what you do is over here on the package, right click, new JFrame form.
Okay.
Try that. Building the GUI is going to be very interactive between me and you all. There aren't going to be any lectures, or I'm sorry, any PowerPoints for this. So I want you all to ask as many questions as possible. Did you get the GUI?
Yeah, mine doesn't have that.
Have what?
The JFrame form. All it says is folder, Java class, Java package, and Java interface.
So it says folder, Java class, Java package,
Yeah.
and nothing else?
Other. And nothing else. And those don't come up in the other. Oh wait. You said it's called a JFrame form?
The JFrame. And it should be, if you click on other, should be under Swing GUI forms.
Yeah, it's not even in other.
So that usually means that you don't have it installed. Let's see. So share your screen real quick so I can see what you're looking at.
It's not in none of these folders.
Let me see. Okay, yeah, you don't even have.
So where I go to download it?
That's what I'm trying to figure out. Does everybody else have that in their NetBeans?
Yeah, I have it.
All right. All right, so it's probably something to do with your Java installation. And your Java installation doesn't have Swing installed. So let's see. Because the library is a built-in Java library. So try to install the Java JDK again. Yeah, try to install it and
I download that from Oracle, right?
yeah. So for you all that have it, if we want to basically copy what NetBeans has over here for our file, and again, it would be unique for your use case, but for our file menu, let's add a new project and a new file prompt. So what we would do over here, our file menu, J menu, right click, add from palette, menu item. All right.
How did you get that in the bottom left?
So this is the
navigator.
The navigator. So let me see your screen. Share your screen.
You can see it.
No, I can't. Hold on. Yeah, I can see it now. All right, so let's see. I believe it's under. Mine was here by default. So let's see. Oh, here you go. So go to Window, to the top, Navigator. There you go.
Okay, thank you.
And hit the two little boxes in the top right of that thing to pin it. There you go. All right. Can everybody see my screen again?
Yes, sir.
All right. So what you do, we have our file menu, and we have our edit menu. So our file menu, again, I just right-clicked, changed variable name, and I named it file menu so I know which one I'm talking about. So if we want to add one of these prompts here, what we do is we right-click, add from palette, menu item. One more time. Right-click, add from palette, menu item. All right. So when you do that, you'll also get over here to the right all of your properties of that item. So if I click on these different items, I'll get all the properties for them, right? On the right over here, you see it's changing based on which one I click. So I could change the text. I want to change the text to new project, ... And you see right here, it changed to new project, ... I also want to change the name, change variable name. New project menu item. So I know what it is. So now when I run this, run file, you'll see if I click on file, I'll have a new project drop down. Okay. So I want to do this again. Add palette, menu item, change the text, new file, ... And you see over here, it changed the new file. And I want to change the variable name, new file, menu item. All right. And then Netbeans has a couple more: open project, open. So if we want to add, if you look here, it has new project, and then new file, open project, open recent, yada, yada, yada. You see there's a little separator right here. What we will do is right click, add from palette, separator. You see it added a separator. And then we would do add from palette, menu, open project. Now if I run this, you'll see new project, new file, and open project. And actually it's open project ... So what I want you all to do is continue this and finish off all of the file prompts here. None of these are going to be incremented or implemented, but we want to finish those off. Don't worry about the shortcuts right here. Right? I believe we can add, yeah, we can add this shortcut. If we click Control, Shift, I think P. Oh, it's Control Shift N. Control Shift. Hold on. No. Control Shift, and then there we go. There we go. Now I got the shortcut. This one is in Control. This one is Control Shift O. I'm just double clicking on this. O, Control Shift. And there we go. Now if I run this, looks a little bit, now it's starting to look like what we have for Netbeans, right? If I expand this to full screen, we're looking a lot closer to Netbeans. You also notice over here, I click on File. This one, Open Recent Project, it has an additional menu that comes up. Open Recent Project has additional menu that comes up. So if we want to do that, again, we click on our File menu, Add from Palette, Menu, because it's basically another menu, right? Open Recent Project. So I want to change Open Recent Project menu. And I want to change the text. Open Recent Project. This menu, this additional menu has menu items as well. So I'm going to add a couple of these menu items. Lecture 13, Assignment 7. So we right click on that, add from palette, menu item, lecture 13. Right click on this again, add from palette, menu item, assignment 7. So now again, if I run this, run file, Open Recent Projects has lecture 13 and assignment 7, right? So now it's starting to look a lot similar to what we have for Netbeans. And we can even add pictures, right? So just like if you look here, Netbeans has these little images, icons right here. For ours, if we had those icons, I don't have those icons, but we could double click this little box and external image, import to project. And you would just find that icon and add it to your project, right? So you could do that as well. You can add the icons for these different menu items. So again, what I want you to do is just continue building these menu items all the way down until you finish, you get down to exit, okay? Just so you can get some practice. And I'm going to keep doing it as well. And if you notice over here, anything that's grayed out, that basically means it's not enabled. So if you want to gray it out for your purposes, if you scroll down over here on the properties menu, the enabled property is black if it's enabled, grayed out if it's disabled, right? I just turned that off. So close other projects is grayed out, so I grayed that out as well. Hey, Mike, were you able to download it yet?
Yeah, I was able to download it.
Is it coming up yet?
I'm restarting NetBeans right now. See if it is.
Okay. Everyone following?
Try.
My GUI still don't come up after I downloaded it.
Yeah, sir. I'm good.
All right, so your GUI still isn't coming up, the swing?
No.
All right, let's see. All right, so go to, where'd I go? Go to tools, then down to plugins. Go to your installed plugins. Do you have GUI Builder installed?
No.
You said no?
No, I don't have it.
Then go to available plugins and search GUI. And GUI Builder should come up.
Oh, do I install the swing one too or no? Just GUI?
What do you have? What do you
It's a GUI Builder Swing Application Framework.
You just need GUI Builder.
All right.
At least that's what I have. So. The next thing I'm going to do is actually fill out the GUI. Actually put different things in here. So let's develop a GUI that allows us to add different devices. We can add a camera or we can add a smartphone. Okay, and if you remember back to lecture 15, that's what we had were cameras and smartphones. So I'm going to actually copy this project into lecture, this is lecture 16. So new, actually, we'll just do this. I'll just copy each one of these files. Down here to lecture 16. All right, here we go. All right, I'm going to set my configuration. See, right now it's set to lecture 16 as my main class. I want the GUI to be the main. All right. So if you remember, I'm going to close this. If you remember, back to lecture 15, we had a camera, we had a smartphone, and both the camera and smartphone, they inherit from device. Just to refresh. And remember our smartphone, it has an owner, a phone number, a carrier, and it has a camera object as well, right? Our smartphones have cameras. Sometimes they have several cameras. So I could have front camera, back camera if I wanted to. Our camera device has just megapixels, nothing too crazy. The device is an abstract class that we can inherit from, and it has by default manufacturer, model, height, width, depth, and weight. So just to refresh on those different classes. So I'm going to build a GUI that allows me to either one, make a camera, or two, make a smartphone. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I want to list all of the items I currently have, but we can organize our GUI using something called a panel. And the nice thing about it is that this has guidelines for you. So you can snap them to different positions. So I snap it right there, and now I have a panel in my frame. You must have a panel to add things to it. All right. If you want to add buttons and text fields and radio buttons, labels, you have to have a panel. You can't just add it, or actually, I think you can add it directly to your frame, but the panel helps you organize it on your frame. All right. So I added a panel here. If I run this, you actually don't see anything yet. Okay. You don't see the panel, but it's a good way of organizing it. So I have this panel. I'm going to rename this, change variable name. I'm going to say list panel. On my list panel, I'm going to put a label and try to get it in the middle. And I'm going to edit the text, current devices. All right. I got my current devices. I'm going to change the font, the size anyway. Let's see. Let's do bold. There we go. All right. That looks pretty good. Current devices. The next thing I want to do is list all of my current devices. Well, this has a nice little swing object called a list. So I'm going to put that list over here. I'm just going to expand this list to fill up most of this. And I'm going to rename this list, change variable name. I'm going to say device list. It's a device list. What you'll notice over here is, one, everything is organized in a hierarchy. So if you remember, I have my list panel, right? This is my list panel. And then underneath that subdirectory, we have our label, which is our current device label. We have something called a JScroll pane. That's just like a fancy panel that allows you to scroll up and down. Inside that scroll pane, we have our device list. The list is something we can add items to. So right now there's 5 items. Each one is named item 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. When I run this, I think that goes away. Oh, it doesn't, it stays. But as you notice, it has built-in functionality to click these items. So that's really nice. We don't have to write the code in order to select items. All right. So this would be my current device list. Next, I'm going to add a button to allow a user to delete whatever device they selected. So a button, edit text, delete, and then I'm going to change the variable name. I'm going to call this delete button. Again, everything is underneath this list panel kind of directory or hierarchy over here in our navigator. So now when I run this, and I'm going to actually try to change this property so that by default, it's in the middle of the screen. I have to remember what the property is. Let's see. Java GUI. Go. All right. It is the location. Let's see. All right. It is not that. So I actually have to go into the code. So this is our GUI right here. And it's just running a default GUI, set visible true, dot set. Should be able to do this, location relative to, no. Does that work? It does not work. All right, let's try this. I'm going to just build a GUI equals new GUI. GUI set visible to true, and then GUI set location relative to no. Now that should center my GUI on the screen. Yep. All right, so that works. So basically right now, what I want this to do is when I select an item, I can delete that item from my list. Okay, so each one I select, I can delete. But when I select an item, I also want to add another panel over here that displays that item's information. All right. So to do that, again, we just add another panel. And I'm going to align it with my other one and stretch it to fill the rest of this box or the rest of this frame. All right. So now I have one panel that lists the items, another one for the information. So I'm going to rename this panel to device info. All right. So I have one panel that has the list panel, and I'm going to actually change this to device info panel, so I know it's a panel. I have that panel. So we go back to our device. We have a manufacturer, we have a model, a height, width, depth, and weight. So I'm going to add all that. So right here, I'm going to say manufacturer, just a label. I'm going to have another label. I'm going to say the model. And you can just double click on this in order to select it. Next one, I'm going to say the height. Another one, I'm going to say width, I believe. Yep. And then the depth. And lastly, the weight. All right, it has all this information. Cool. Now I'm going to add in a text box that aligns with this. I'm going to extend it a little bit. I'm going to rename this text field, change variable name. I'm going to call it manufacturer text field. So now when I run this, you'll see it's starting to look like an actual GUI, if you will. All right. When I click on one of these devices, I'd want the manufacturer to switch to what I have for this device object. And each one of these items over here will be devices, will be objects, either a camera or a smartphone. Right? And actually, that's important. Let me do this as well. Because we can do instance of to figure out what type of device it is. Oops. So I'm actually going to put another field up here, another label that says what type it is as well. And then I'm going to align these down here. I'm just going to copy this, Control C, Control V. Actually, I'm not going to do that because it doesn't like that. I'll just create these text fields. And you see, I'm just aligning them. You can align them how you see fit. I'm going to name this model text field. And I hope you all are following with me doing this. This is where your creativity comes in. So however you want to create your GUI, height text field. It's up to you. You don't have to follow me exactly. Again, when you become a programmer, you know, your user honestly will tell you whether it's a good GUI or not. They'll say, this sucks. You need to fix this. Or they'll say, this is great. We can work with this. Text field. Oh, I didn't want to do that. Go back to design. So if ever you go into the code, like you accidentally click something and it takes you to the code, if you just go up here to design, it'll take you back to the design. And remember to change your variable names because that'll come in handy once we start implementing the code next week. So this week will just be about building the GUIs. Next week will be about actually implementing them and the functionality behind them. So the name that you make these variable names are very important because we'll be referencing them later on. All right, cool. So what I have here, when I run this, I'll have my current device. When I click on one of these, it should say the type, manufacturer, model, height, depth, width, all that good information. All right. And then actually, let me put another text field over here for type. Type text field. So when I run this, cool. I'll click on a device, and then I'll have the information populate over here. And right now, this stuff is editable, so I can actually change this, right? I can actually change the values in there during runtime. I can actually type in here, all that good stuff. For the list, you can't do anything yet because we haven't put any functionality, so your delete button won't do anything. This is called a skeleton GUI because there's no meat, there's no anything else that, except for the general bones and structure of the GUI. I'm going to shorten this a little bit so it fits in now. It looks nice. Another thing I'm going to do is, if you remember, we have phones, smartphones, and we have cameras. So what I can do is just add another panel right here. Add a panel right here. Inside of my device info, I'm going to rename this to smartphone panel. And I'm going to add in the smartphone information to this panel, all right? And then watch what I do once I do this. I think that, let's see. I'm trying to align this so that it fits in. I think that's an equal space. Maybe a little bit further down. I'm just going to go with that. So our smartphone has owner, phone number, carrier, and camera. So go back. So owner, label, carrier. Spelled that wrong. Carrier, phone number, phone number, carrier, and then lastly it has a camera. Camera, I'm going to just say camera model. I could display all the information for the camera, but I'm just going to display the model. I don't need all that. Let me add text fields in here for this as well. Let's see. Let's see if I can align this. It will not let me. So what I can do, look at these text fields and look at the position of these text fields. Let's see, where's the position? Let's see. I'm just looking for the position. I'm not finding it. I'm not finding the position. That's okay. This is close enough, I guess. It don't have to be perfect. What I can do is this right here, because everything is based off of manufacturer above. So I could do that and position it like that and change this back to, what was it, owner? That didn't work. It's going to maintain that same distance. So we just do this right here. I'll just try to make it as close as possible. Let's see. All right, that'll work. This length, perfect. Change the variable name to owner text field. And another text field for phone number. Phone number text field. Another one for carrier. Carrier text field. Extend it out. And then lastly, camera model text field. Camera model text field. All right. So when I run this, this is perfect for a camera. And actually, as you see, it's a little out of alignment up here. And we could do some things. Obviously, we'd have to go into the code and try to figure out how to align these better. And one thing we could do is change this to where it's no longer aligned with it. If you notice, these are aligned with this back kind of alignment anchor, right? So if we set the size of this to, let's set it to 310. Each one of these are aligned to that back anchor. So if we set them all to 310, they should all line up perfectly. Even we set these to 310 as well. These are still aligned with that back anchor. So let's get 310. Come on. And you can actually go over here and set the size, I believe. Preferred size, I believe. That worked? It did not. All right. So I guess we have to try to drag these to 310. Once we get one of them, we should be able to align all the rest of them. Okay, perfect. So that one's set to 310. Now we can just align all of these with that. Once we do this, our GUI should look correct now. Everything should be lined up properly. Yep. So all of our text fields are lined up. And actually this one looks a little bit different. It's a little bit shorter. So I believe, there we go. Now let's see. Now it looks worse again. All right, let's see if we make this 290. I'll make these 290. This one, I'm going to change the preferred width, preferred size to 290. You just got to make sure all of your text box are anchored correctly. So I got to drag that over, drag that over, drag that over, drag it over. Make sure they're all anchored correctly. And this is just like for those of you who are doing web programming, just keep going back, making sure everything looks correct, all that good stuff. Same thing. Whenever you're building a GUI, whether it be web or desktop like this, dragging and dropping, this is just what you do. Now this one, why are you being difficult? So all of them are anchored, but these are anchored to something else. You see, that's what I don't want. I don't want them stuck on something. There we go. Perfect. All right, let's try this. There we go. Now they're all lined up. But if you notice, now this one is acting funny because the height is weird. So I got to fix that, and then we should be good to go. So depth and manufacturer, they're off. Let's see why. No, I don't want that. Any questions so far? Now there's just two of you, Doriantis
No,
and Michael.
sir. I'm good.
Michael, are you following?
Yeah, I'm following.
All right. Let's see. Why are those acting weird? I'm gonna reset these to default. See what happens. Okay, now the height is right, but the width is wrong. All right, let's fix the width. 290, 290, 290. All right. Why are you being so difficult? Manufacturer. What is going on here? Oops, didn't mean to do that. Hmm. And again, this is the challenging part of building a GUI, just making sure everything looks right, works correctly. All right, I just about got everything except for manufacturer. That text field is acting funny, so what I'm about to do is just delete that text field and create another one. I'm tired of fooling with it. All right. All right. Almost have it together. All right. There we go. Now they all line up correctly. My type, manufacturer, model, height, width, depth, weight, owner, phone number, carrier, camera model. Cool. So if you notice, this information down here only works for a smartphone. It doesn't work for a camera. A camera has different information than a smartphone, right? So if that's the case, what we can do is this panel, the reason I made this panel down here was so that I can also change its visibility. Right now it's visible, right? But I can change the visibility of this in the code. I can see, let's see. And depending on which item, which device we click, if we click on a smartphone, I would make the smartphone panel visible. If we click on a device, on a camera, I would make the camera panel visible. So right now, let me make this, where is it? So it should be a visible property over here. If not, we have to do it in the code. See, I don't see the visible property over here, so we'll have to do it in the code. Let's see. I disabled it. Let's see what that does. Yeah, that's not what I'm looking for. I want it to be invisible. So we can do this in the code. So if I go to the source, you see we have all of our little objects are over here and grayed out. We actually can't modify this code. That's automatically generated. But I would have a method called public static void toggle device panel, right? I want to toggle the device panel. Basically, if smartphone panel dot is visible, I want to make it invisible. Smartphone panel dot set visible to false, right? Let's see why this doesn't work. Do public void toggle device panel. Another one, else if, I haven't made this panel yet, but else if device panel, not device, camera panel dot is visible. Right now I haven't made that panel yet. Else if I want to say so if the other panel is visible, I would say camera panel dot set visible to false. And up here, I'm setting the smartphone panel to false. I want the camera panel that's set visible to true. I want that to be visible. And down here, I want the smartphone panel that's set visible to true. So essentially what I'll do is, depending on which device we click, and this toggle panel, it'll change once we implement the code. But depending on what device we click, we'll either make the smartphone panel invisible and make the camera panel visible, or we'll make the camera panel invisible, make the smartphone panel visible. And so we already have our smartphone panel. So hopefully I can right click this, properties. Let's see, I want the visible property. And I don't believe they have the visible property available to us here. So let's see if I can hide this. I can't actually hide it, but hopefully, yep, I can't do that either. Let's see, how will we design this? Because by default, we'll make it invisible. And then depending on the device, we'll make it visible or not. So I want to hide it. I'm trying to figure out how. If you all figure it out, let me know. What I'm going to do, what I'm trying to do anyway, is put another panel here in the same spot, but with camera information instead. So that's what I'm trying to do.
I can't help you at all with that one.
All right. Let's see. I thought I could change the visible, just make it invisible. Okay. It might be this is what I'm looking for. Yeah, I'm looking for a layered pane. So what we have to do, all right, let's try this. Let's see. Let's try a layered pane. Let's see if this works. And then I'm going to select all of this. Move it down to my layered pane. All right, let's try that. All right, so I have a layered pane. Let's see if a layered pane works for my purposes. Let's see. It does not, so. All right, there is something I know I can do, which is something called a tab pane. This is not necessarily what I wanted to do, but that's all right. It'll work either way. Go back the way it was. I'm going to extend this a little bit. Make a tab pane. And a tab pane is exactly what it sounds like. It'll have tabs, basically. And then we put this inside. Hold on. Hold on. There we go. We have our tab pane. There we go. We take our panel and we put it inside this tab pane. So we take this panel and we put it inside there. So now it comes up as a tab, which again, not necessarily what I wanted to do, but it works for our purposes. If I figure out another way of doing it, I'll definitely let you know. And you can rename this to however you want to do it. You can design it as you see fit. Edit text. We go back to our source. You see here, now I have a tab here, and I can change the text that that tab says. So smartphone. I can add another panel to this pane. And I can change this to camera. And so when I run this, it's not going to do exactly what I wanted to do. What's my issues? Oh, yeah, this is not going to work anymore. This is not going to do exactly what I wanted to do, but for its purposes, it'll say if we click on a smartphone over here, the smartphone panel will show up. If we click on a camera, the camera one will show up. And if you remember, the camera one only has one attribute in it, which was the megapixels. Megapixels. Text field, 290. Change variable name. Megapixels text field. I'm going to move this in a little bit. It's a little wide. And there we go. So when I run this, again, if I click on a camera over here, the smartphone panel will come up. If I click on a camera over, if I click on a smartphone over here, the smartphone panel will show up. If I click on a camera, it'll switch to camera. So unfortunately, it's not doing exactly what I wanted. I wanted to overlap them so that I could just make one visible and the other one invisible. And I can figure out how to do that by next week. So if I do, I'll show you that. But right now, this works as well. Just have two different panels. And again, you can modify this all you want. You know, you can change it to where all of this information is inside the panel and it switches depending on what you click. It doesn't matter how you design it. But again, it's up to you. And all of this is customizable. Any questions?
So we gonna be able to like put this stuff. So like on this list we can like put those items in our array through like the code and stuff.
Yep. So what you do is actually you pass that array to your list, and your list will populate it up here. And you tell the list, hey, I want you to display the names, and it'll display each item, each object's name. Then from there, once you click on it, basically you're clicking on the object. So you're clicking on the smartphone object. So you would say over here, So this is text field. This text field is called type text field. So basically what I could do is in the code, and we'll do this next week in more depth. This is my GUI right here. So GUI, I create the GUI, and that's the whole frame and whatnot. I create the frame object. I set the visibility equal to true, location relative to null. That puts it in the middle of the screen. So let me create a smartphone object, SP equals new smartphone. SP.set, let's see. I'm gonna say set manufacturer to Apple. SP.set model to, let's see, iPhone X Plus. That's the model, manufacturer and model, right? So once I click on, let's say smartphone SP is the first one in our list. When I click on it, I would say this, type text area, GUI dot type text field dot set, I believe set text, SP dot get. Actually, we know it's a smartphone, so smartphone. And GUI dot manufacturer text field dot set text. Now I'll get SP dot get manufacturer. And again, we'll do this again next week. Model text field dot set text SP dot get model. So when you click on one of those objects, you can just, you got the object, you just call get manufacturer, set your manufacturer text field equal to that information. So when I run this, I expect it, I didn't click on anything, I didn't add any code to work with any clicks, but I expect the type to be a smartphone, the manufacturer to be Apple, and the model to be iPhone X Plus. Yep. So type smartphone, Apple, iPhone X Plus. All you have to do is just set the text of these different text fields, depending on what you click. Right now, we don't have any functionality. We just have the skeleton GUI. But next week, we will add the functionality. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, that's it for today. I'll be posting this, these slides, not slides, but these recordings hopefully by Friday. Basically, what we'll do for the lab is you'll create a GUI that looks just like this, except for automobile. For the assignment, you'll create a GUI that looks just like this, except for athletes. Is that cool?
Yes, sir.
Do y'all feel comfortable enough to do that? All right, well, I'll
Yes,
see
sir.
you on Friday.
Have a good day.
You too.
Have a good one.
You too.